Hey everyone, and welcome to another Kinsta Talks episode. My name is Marcel Bootsman, and I'm the Partnerships and Community Manager for Kinsta for the region EMEA. And today I have with me in this call Rian Rietveld. Hi Rian.
Hi,
Hi, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to hear that. I can do a small introduction for people that are not familiar with you and what you have done and what you are doing. So I know Rian for quite a few years already. I don't exactly know how long, but very long. We're both very old.
Longer than 10 years. I think longer than 10 years? Yes.
Longer than 10 years, yeah, we
Yeah.
can say that definitely, yes. Rian has been very active in the accessibility regions of WordPress, but not just only WordPress. She has been given education to developers and designers on how they can develop and design accessible websites, and was retired, or is retired. But after her retirement, she couldn't let go of the accessibility missions she is on. So, Rian, please tell us what happened.
Well, the garden was finished and the walls were painted in the house. And I thought, well, what should I do? Well, I actually know pretty much about accessibility. So I thought, well, I'm going to share that. So I wanted to give training and write documentation. And then last year at WordCamp Europe in 2024 in Torino. I went to the Contributors Day and I went to the accessibility table and I said to Joe Dawson, give me work. And he said, okay, review the accessibility content on makewordpress.org. And then I started reading and I was a bit horrified because all the accessibility documentation was scattered around. Some documentation was more than 10 years old. I think I wrote that myself, like back in the days, outdated, incomplete, with techniques that are really not modern. So I thought that needs to change because with all the stricter legislation, there is a lot of need for knowledge, for decent knowledge about accessibility. And what good place to provide it to WordPress developers and people who build or design or write for WordPress than on makewordpress.org. And the handbook there was really not complete and was confusing. And there's also on the design part and on the developer part, there were all scattered around pieces of accessibility. So I wanted to bundle that. And I wrote a report about that and I talked to Amber Hiss and to Joe Dawson. Well, we need to do something about that. And the first thing that Joe Dawson did, he rewrote the content in the handbook as it is now. So all the mistakes and the really outdated stuff is now gone because he rewrote that. But we needed more, like a structured way of giving information, like a place to go to. So we thought, why don't you make a dedicated website, ulpaccessibility.org? All the information about WordPress and accessibility, about themes, about plugins, about good practice, about where to start could be in that website, like a knowledge base. And we started to build that. Well, it's a bit weird because it's a Jekyll website. WordPress, we wanted to use WordPress, but it's not really suited for many people to work on that. So now we have on GitHub a repository with the content, and we have a GitHub page for the website, and everybody can contribute. We have issues with all the content and what we want to work on, and it's a really structured way to let the community also join in working on that knowledge base.
That sounds
So
very
I
good.
thought that is really something to do when I'm retired.
Yes, well, and you have all the time in the world to work on that. And it sounds like it is a way of building a kind of knowledge base for accessibility for WordPress in the broadest way possible.
Yes.
Anything that happens in WordPress or that should happen in WordPress that makes a website accessible, not just semantic HTML, not just the right color coding, but also ways to structure your website, what kind of pages to make, what kind of, well, whatever, everything that is under the umbrella of accessibility will be handled there and will be discussed and is accessible for anyone that wants to learn more about that.
Yeah, that's one place to go to. Also, like if you want to know about legislation or if you want to know about best practice or you have no clue where to start. So if you are a stakeholder, what do I need to know? We want to create a reading guide Like then you can look up, okay, I'm a developer. I can get the information that I need from these links, or I'm a designer. I need other information. Well, this is all in the setup. It's not ready yet. It's just being built, but
It's
that's
a
the
work in
point.
progress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we go and make it a bit more touchable, if you were a small business owner or a blogger using WordPress, the term accessibility can sound, well, intimidating or sometimes even confusing. Can you share a real world example of how an inaccessible website impacts a user and how your project will help that business owner connect with more customers?
Yeah, there are many ways where accessibility can go wrong. But the easiest thing to fix, if you are a website owner, make it easy for people to contact you. I see, for example, contact way, the only way is a telephone number. Now, if you are deaf, or if you have a stutter, or if you have like anxiety, then it's really hard to make a phone call. So also provide an email address. I saw in a big store in the Netherlands, a web store, where you can ask for help only when you log in first. So if you have trouble creating an account, there's no way you can ask for help. Just think about all those different people that wants to contact you. So you provide a telephone number, you provide an email or a form, or maybe a social media, but not just one. Give multiple options. And
Give
that's
multiple
easily
options.
done.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like, if someone decides on how they want to be contacted, and for instance, what you said, just put an email address on the website or put a phone number there, you allow people to use that, but you also build a wall around any other options there are to be contacted. With not using them on that website, you basically build a wall for others so they
Yeah,
can't even contact you, or they don't want to contact you in a way that you offer them. So a good tip is to give more possibilities to people to contact a company or, well, whatever website you have. That's a goal of how a website can. This is just a minor thing. It doesn't involve a lot of design work. It doesn't involve a lot of coding. This is just very easy. Add a number, add a contact form, an email address. Maybe add some social media profiles, or WhatsApp or Signal or whatever, and then people can contact you in a way that
yeah,
they find comfortable.
yeah. You give the user a choice, and you make contacting you not their problem. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. So if we look at that, something that comes out of that is that accessibility mistakes are made, mostly by not knowing how to do it right. So what would you say is the single most common accessibility mistake you see on WordPress sites? And can you also name a simple practical tip that anyone watching this video now could implement on their site today to make it better?
well, the American organization WebAIM performs every year a survey or a research of 1 million from homepages of websites. And there are, well, in the top 5, there is always missing alt text on images. And you can do that just if you add content. Also, if you add an image, add an alternative text. WordPress gives an option for that. Take care that the alternative text really makes sense. Another one is color contrast of text. If you have a website, you really want the people to be able to read the content that's on the website. And if you're 25 and you have perfect eyesight, that's easy to read everything. But if you get older, then then if you have like a white background with tiny letters that are really, really gray, people cannot read it. So what do you want with your website? Do you want it to look really stylish, or do you want people to read it? Make that decision. And one other thing is, if you have text, pieces of text, and you have links in that text, well, underline the links, please. Because if you only use another color to distinguish the links in text, it's about text. Well, people who are colorblind maybe can miss the links, and maybe they can miss a call to action to important information. Underlining links, yeah, that's just a convention.
Yes, it is a convention. And you mean with underline the links, you don't mean underline when you hover over it. You
No,
mean underline in just
in plain
in normal
sight.
text, put
Yeah.
put an underline
You
on
don't
it.
have to
Definitely.
add links to menus or that kind of stuff, but just have a
Exactly.
paragraph of text. If you have a link in that, that must be really distinguishable from other
Yes.
text.
Yes.
And that's just piece of CSS. Maybe you can fix it yourself with the full site editing.
I believe that is definitely possible. And if you don't know how to do that, please reach out to your team that manages the website, or your agency that did the website, that fix this, please. So looking at wpaccessibility.org, it's a work in process. You've been working on this, I think, about a half year now, something like that. And I'd like to go a little bit more into the future. Let's say looking ahead like 5 years, what is your ultimate vision for wpaccessibility.org, and how do you hope it will change the conversation and the default practices for accessibility within the very big WordPress community?
Well, the main goal is to make information about accessibility findable and also easy to read. And the content must be accessible, that people understand what they need to do. And my goal is that we have a knowledge base, a place to go to for everything WordPress accessible. Another goal is that we want to give back to WordPress. So we want to really figure out how to write the documentation really well about design, content, about development, and give that back to WordPress and publish that also on developer.wordpress.org. So the information will be, if it's perfect, if you think, okay, this is ready to publish, it will be given back to WordPress and it will also be there. But the website, wpaccessibility.org, stays as a complete knowledge base of everything WordPress and accessibility related. And silently, I hope that also people outside of WordPress can use it as a knowledge base about accessibility.
Yeah, I think it implies, if you only look at the accessibility improvements people can make, a lot of those happen on the front end. And then it doesn't matter if it's a WordPress site or whatever CMS you use. It's general information for anyone that uses a website. Of course, if you go into the technical details, if you're going to talk about themes for WordPress or plugins, then it's a different story. It's purely for WordPress. But I think it's very valuable to have that available for any website owner or agency or designer that wants to know more about accessibility for websites in general. Definitely.
Yeah.
I've seen that there are already some contributors to the project. If you are going to, if we look further, 5 years in the future, maintaining open source software is a challenge. And responsibilities, time, funding, etc. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But do you also have plans to make sure that this project will, basically stay alive and that people can keep maintaining it? And there's not just one or two people that have the rights to commit changes?
That's the real challenge at the moment. Well, first we had a brainstorm session with the Dutch WordPress and accessibility community. We were together one day. I bought a lot of cookies. I thought that works. I heard from Milana.
Stroopwafels.
Yes, stroopwafels. And we just designed how the content should be structured. And now I created pages from all those ideas we have with issues on GitHub. So everybody can pick an issue if you want to work on that. But the main issue is you really have to know what you're talking about. If you're writing content about color contrast, for example, you need to know about color contrast and not go to ChatGPT and say, write a piece about color contrast and submit that. That's a bit of a problem at the moment. So
Yes.
we need people that really know accessibility. And once the content is there, well, accessibility doesn't change as much. What changes are the techniques, how WordPress functions for stuff, how to handle things in CSS. That changes. There are modern techniques, and we need to keep up with that. So we also want to have a pattern library with copy-paste code, where you can copy-paste code for your theme. For example, skip links. If you want to have a skip link, well, you can have a function for a skip link with the CSS and the HTML, and you can copy that for your theme or your plugin or whatever. And that needs to stay well up to date. And that's also a challenge, I think. And legislation will change, and so that needs to be updated. I think if the content is there, the real challenge will be getting the stuff modern, keeping stuff modern, like modern
I
techniques.
understand that.
Yeah.
Just for the people that don't know exactly, can you, without diving too much into technical details, can you explain what a skip link is?
Well, people who use a keyboard to navigate a website, then use the tab key to tap through the website to go to links or buttons they want to enter. And if you have a menu, like 20 tabs, that's really hard to go through the menu if you want to access a link that's in the content. So a skip link is on top of the page. It's the first link that gets content, and it says skip to content, and you can skip over the menu and access the links in the content. That's a skip link, and that's required if you have
Okay.
like a big menu. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, I can totally understand that, because if you have those 20 menu items on top and you are browsing through a website and you use the keyboard and you are going to look at 10 pages, then you would have to tap through every page view you do. You have to tap through all those menu items, and that can be
If you want
pretty
to
annoying.
reach actually a link
Yeah,
somewhere in the content.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thanks for
that's
that.
just a convenience for keyboard
Indeed.
users.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for that explanation. Also, a look into the future, but also the near future, is that web accessibility is already like a community effort. There's a big community working on that and looking at the standards, creating the standards. How can the average viewer, who might not be a coder or a designer, contribute and support the mission of wpaccessibility.org and help make the web a more inclusive place?
Well, we are writing the documentation for people who don't know anything about accessibility. So read what we wrote and check, can I understand it? Do I understand what I need to do? There are various topics. If you're a designer and you want to know about color contrast or a meaningful sequence, read the content. Do I understand this? And if you don't understand this, please let us know. There are different ways to contact us with a, a form. You can fill out a form, or you can fill out an issue, create a new issue, or you can just comment on the WordPress accessibility Slack. Read the content. If you don't know anything about accessibility and you really want to know and you just don't get what the content is, let us know, because then we can improve it. Because rewriting is for people who don't know accessibility. That's the target group.
Yeah, that's cool. On the other side, I saw a presentation from Juliette Reinders-Volmer about maintenance of open source project and funding in general. Is funding a thing for you too,
Yes.
for this project?
Yeah. My goal is to work 60 hours a month on this, and I'm funded like 25% now. So thanks to Kinsta, human made, and a Dutch company I was. But I actually need much more funding to get really my hours compensated. So if
Okay.
you want to fund someone, have on GitHub a funding page or reach out to me in email.
Yeah, so
That
if
will be
someone is
very
watching,
nice.
if someone is watching right now and they work for an agency or they own an agency or in any way want to contribute themselves in a financial way, they can look it up on the website and see what they can do for you. Would be very
Yeah, we
great if
have
we could.
like a link for it. Do you want to sponsor this project?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice, Rian. I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you for giving this information about wpaccessibility.org. I'm going to plug the URL again. Yeah, I hope a lot of people will find this video interesting, are triggered to take a look at the website to see
Please.
if they can learn something.
It's still
Maybe
in
they know.
draft. It's still in draft, so we're still writing. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes, you're still writing, but the information that's there is already valuable. And if people know someone else that might have any value from the stuff that you are writing there, I hope they are going to forward that. So again, I would like to thank you for your time for this interview.
Thank you
And
for having me.
you're welcome. And I wish you all the best with this project.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.